Hi, I'm Spiky. Welcome to my clinic. Now, who are you and what do you do for a living?
So, my name is Sebastian. I am from Sweden. I live on the countryside and I do many things by choice. To earn my living. First of all, I live very cheap. On the countryside, you can live very cheap. If you share resources with other people, you can live very cheap. So, I don't have to work that much. I earn some money from being a dive instructor, and I also earn some money from journalistic work sometimes, not much. Sometimes for being an administrator in an organization. I'm in that lucky position, so I own a house and I can rent that house and earn money on that. So that's sort of how I pay my bills, I would say.
What makes you a professional dreamer and what do you like about it?
So you assume that I am a professional dreamer. I would say I am a dreamer because I think big a lot of the time. I usually have dreams that are very hard to fulfill. Sometimes my dreams take 10 years to fulfill, and I'm patient enough or fanatic enough to go for certain dreams. So on when it comes to adventure, I had certain dreams that I had fulfilled. Was not easy, and when it comes to sports, I also pursue dreams. And I guess now living on the countryside, sort of within an association that has ambitions of becoming some kind of community, uh, that is a dream. And with dream, I mean that it's not so easy to achieve because social enterprise, especially for someone who's me, who's a bit of a lone wolf introvert person, doesn't mean I don't want people around me. It's a challenge. So therefore, I've understood that this dream, the former dreams in my life, have always been that I can do it myself. They were you needed one person, that's me. But now I need other persons. So that has been a learning journey of cooperation and working with other people. But I usually say a bit, I don't know the English word for that, but no, I'm not a dreamer, I'm a planner. Meaning that I believe so much in myself that it's not a dream, it's actually a plan, and I'm just gonna make it. And usually it takes about 10 years sometimes to do one of these big dreams. But right now, the project that I'm in now, I actually have failed because it's longer than 10 years. Now we're reaching 10 years and I haven't reached the results I want. But I guess it's part of the human being of being a dreamer. I've studied Buddhism some, and the problem there that this Siddhartha pointed at was, of course, greed. And I would associate dreaming with greed sometimes, that you want something. And that's natural, but you have to keep an eye on your greed because you might want more than you need and things like that. So I've never seen the word professional and dreamer together. That you can be an amateur dreamer and you can be a professional dreamer. I guess a professional dreamer is a person who dreams a lot and actually, I don't know, has a method of achieving their goal. Which I guess over the years, as you get older, you get more methods. And since I work and hang out with young people a lot, I'm not the kind of person who says, "Oh, believe in yourself. All dreams can become true." I mean, you can't just be 19 and say, "I'm going to be a rock star." I mean, sometimes you have to be a bit realistic about your dreams and maybe have plan B and plan C. And I have lots of plan B and C's and stuff like that. I'm very flexible in that way. That guess is professional to actually to admit that I'm going to pursue this dream and I like the aspect of pursuing it. I might not reach it, but maybe the journey was worth it. And if I don't reach it, I'm not going to be bitter and angry. I'm going to go for plan B.
What challenges have you faced as a youth worker?
Well, I wouldn't say I identify with the term youth worker. I have slowly, by different choices combined together, found myself in a position where there's a lot of younger people around me. From 13 and upwards, mostly young adults, they are adults. So I have slowly have to admit that yeah, maybe I'm a youth worker. I don't have any education in it. Nobody has given me this title. I have been to Erasmus courses for people who work with young and learned a lot of things, methods, attitudes and stuff, which has been very beneficial, I must say. Erasmus is great. Erasmus is for developing young people, but it actually has developed me a lot because I've been able to go to these free courses and workshops and things. So that has been very good. So let me remind myself of the question.
What challenges have you faced as a youth worker?
So, as I mentioned in the previous answer, working with people is a challenge. And I think more for me than the average person. I think patience is my main problem with being around people. I strive for working side by side with people, and when we have the same goal and we're working with passion, I really feel good. But I've understood that my vision of not wanting to lead people, to be equal with them, doesn't work. I've understood the importance of leadership. And even though I'm a bossy person, I can point with the whole hand, as we say in my language. I don't like that role, but I've been forced into that role. And I've also understood that leadership is very important. And there's many styles, and I have to work on my style all the time. So this thing of leadership has been a challenge for me. What kind of a leader shall I be? And I have chosen to be a very tough leader, a very demanding one. I don't like people's weaknesses. I see their strength and I see their potential. I say, come on, show me your potential. This thing of setting my expectations on the people I work with right, and setting the people, since I'm in an administrative role where I actually select people for certain activities in the youth work area, I have to make sure that their expectations are the right ones. And in the beginning, I tried to sell our activities. Yeah, this is going to be great. But then I realized, no, young people can be so quick in how they don't really read the manual, or so they are, yeah, let's go to Sweden, fun. And they forget that it's some fine notes there that they actually have to do certain things. And they're very positive and very open and yes-sayers. I don't know if that is a youthful trait, but I have switched over to be more sort of setting the expectations right, of actually saying the negative things that can be in the activities we have. So the interpersonal work between me as when I have to take on a leader position, work leading, and with a group is interesting, challenging, because you can always get better at it and be efficient. And that is sort of my main challenge, I would say. And also, since I'm into administration, the not bureaucracy, I mean, these are important papers, most of them, but doing the reports. I love the applications because that's a dreaming phase. You're striving for something, then you did it and it was great. And then you have to prove, well, fairly enough to the financer, EU, that you actually use these money and these resources wisely. But it's sort of like being dragged back. Okay, now I have to describe the whole thing, but they liked it, we liked it, it was okay. Now I have to go through the thing again, which is maybe good as a evaluation is always good, and trying to describe what happened to someone else, a third party wasn't there. Thinking about it as I speak, it might be good, but that's a challenge, working with administration. I think that's enough of challenges.
What does burnout mean for you? Give some examples.
Well, burnout to me personally means nothing. I don't think I ever been burnout. I'm aware that people who gets burned out don't feel it sometimes because they are high achievers and they are able to block those feelings away and focus on the task, get the job done, maybe push down emotions. But of course, I've heard the word burnout and I have an opinion about it. Burnout is something that other people get. Burnout is something that will never happen to me. That's my relationship to burnout. And I know that's a bit naive because things change. I've of course felt stress, and I would rather speak about stress and stress management. I felt anxiety. I don't like speaking on phones, and everything that involves me answering a phone or doing a phone call, it's a bit, someone else, could you maybe take that phone call? So that's a small thing, and deadlines approaching me create stress, procrastination, putting things up for a long time. But burnout, using the mouse so much that I get an inflammation in the lower hand. I've been close to that. Talking there about the physical burnout. I am in a great position that I live on a farm, a place in the nature. I have lots of things I have to do outside. So I can always leave the computer, change mindset, and work with my body. And I also take time to do physical stuff, sports, so to speak. And I've lately actually prioritized in my life to actually spend more time on myself, physical things, sport, movement, and actually failing a bit, setting my goals lower when it comes to the stuff involving computer work and projects and things. And that I think is very wise of me. That is not because I was heading for a burnout, but towards unmotivation, boredom, existential, not crisis, but shit, is this what I'm going to do with my life? Sit here and fill in reports? Why not just ask for less money and enjoy myself? And enjoy myself doesn't mean watching YouTube movies, but it means actually taking care of my health. Yeah, let's spend some more time cooking or more money on food, better food and stuff like that. So I would say that I've given you no examples of burnouts, but how I'm trying to keep unhealthy lifestyle away. And for me also, since countryside winter time in my country, it's a bit darkish, boring, and not so many people want to visit the place wintertime. So even though I'm a perfect introvert, I sort of miss people wintertime or miss working with people. But hey, Zoom is all right. Pandemic taught us that Zoom works. And if you use it professionally, you can get your social interaction there, get stuff done.
If burnout was a dragon, how would you describe it?
I don't think one should describe burnout as a dragon. Now, I'm not an expert on burnout, but I think it's more a creeping virus that is invisible at first and you only see the symptoms. I don't see any powerful smoking, crushing through walls kind of thing. It's more sneaky and can affect you on a more subtle way, I would would say. But I guess it sort of starts with tickling feelings, itchy feelings, some thoughts that are not positive for you, goes over, psychosomatic goes over to the physical world. You start your health deteriorating, staring at the screen too much, or if you are the kind of youth worker that are engaging with people all the time, maybe you are overloaded with people, and people can be very, very emotional. And younger people who are more driven by hormones might be very here and now and stuff like that, and that can be overwhelming. And also, you see all these, every person is like a book, like a universe, and they're full of emotions, and then you start caring. Because I worked as a teacher for 1 year, and I couldn't anymore because I cared too much about each individual, and I got dragged down by, I guess I get a lot of empathy there, by their stories and their worries and their problems and stuff. So I guess you need a professional, now I work, now I'm private, but I don't like that. I don't want to live that way, that I'm two different identities. I actually want to be so sincere that I'm always the same. And this is one of my problems, that I'm very sincere, and that sometimes I don't have this professional work mask. And I probably would benefit from having it, but I don't like being a role, or acting a role, which makes me vulnerable in a sense. So I actually, even though people perceive me as a very tough, no-saying person, I have a very hard time saying no. And I have to brace myself up and be this stern, fatherly, you are not going to do that, there will be consequences thing.
Okay. Oops. Sorry. How did burnout impact your life, and how did you deal with it?
So I cannot say that I had burnout where I had to, I guess most people who get a burnout, what I've heard, they have to leave their job. It's like being an alcoholic. Either you cannot drink a little bit, just stop. So I guess you have to change your environment and your social environment and what you do. But as I said, I'm more a relationship to stress, because I set my goals high, and then I also, I'm a achiever, and I get very hard on myself if I don't achieve my goals. So I've actually learned to, someone taught me, we were sitting in this meeting and we were striving for, I don't know, building a web page or whatever we were doing, and we wanted it to be perfect, and everyone had an opinion, and all of a sudden someone said, guys, isn't it good enough? Can we just move on? Isn't this what we have good enough? And that was such a useful tool, saying, do we need perfect here? Are we willing to sacrifice? Because getting from 95 to 100% or 99, it's a lot of time. It's quite quick to get something up to 50%, 80%. But then if you want to increase quality, a lot of time, and maybe you should just say good enough. And with your personal life as well. I also had a trick I learned early on. I have all these to-do lists. I have to do this, do this, do this, do this. And I write a to-do list. Could be 50 lines. And I take the to-do list and I rip it in half, take the lower part, which is unprioritized, and just do it. And just keep main priority thing. Make that phone call, answer the tax office, get the activity participants, email them. And then if the things that I throw away were important, they will come back. So learning not to be striving for perfection, and learning to fail, very useful. I'm also, I did sports on a high level, which adventure sport, which needed a lot of mental toughness, or at least focus. So I actually studied sport psychology, and in practice I used these methods, and I also did a lot of yoga, which is breathing and focus, and lots of meditation in that. And the meditation taught me a lot because I got good teachers. Meditation is a very term that is, I would say, misused. So don't assume that you know what I'm talking about when I say meditation, but I basically say mind control. Be able to see thoughts coming, evaluate them before they get into your subconscious, before they start having an emotional impact on you, the experience that comes from the outside world that manifests in a thought, and you try to sort of take control of your thoughts, and which is hard work. And so I can see things happening, the psychosomatic things. So I learned through this meditation to observe when I get too obsessed with a thought, or when I'm trying to avoid things. So I'm using these methods to handle stress. And handle stress doesn't really mean to control it. Sometimes it just means to observe it, to say, okay, you're stressed. Okay, live with it. Do you have the opportunity to actually stand up and do something else? Good for you, do it. I live that way, so I can actually jump from project to project, from chopping wood to planning this project, or repairing that stuff, so I can actually live like a human being should live, because I think we evolutionary came from a very diverse activities. So I have this, I am grateful that I live in a way that I can actually use a very holistic way of living with body and mind and things like that.
What did you learn from your experience?
I would say life is a series of emotions. You go from one emotion to another, and then all of a sudden you lie there at your deathbed and you look back, and what was your life was what you felt. And feelings comes from doing things. Of course, you can be very passive and stimuli comes to you, but me personally, I'm a very doer kind of person. So I try to be aware of emotional states passing, not only from second to second, but from now right now I'm visiting another country in another city, and I try to make the most out of it. And then all of a sudden, which is common with me, I think, oh, I wish I was someone else, which is very, very sad. Isn't it nice if every person is exactly where they want to be? And that you have to accept that, no, you cannot go to all the parties. Now I'm at this party, and I just have to make the best out of it. So even though my thoughts want to go to the future, I mentioned Buddhism before, and Siddhartha, and one of the messages he had that your mind wants to go either back and work on things, problems from the past, embarrassing things you said, trying to understand why did he said or she said that, blah, blah. Or me, I'm a future kind of person. Oh, I want to go there, I want to do this. I'm sitting, oh, I should be at the farm now, I should be doing this, I should solve that problem, I should do this, I should do that. And I'm trying to be here and now a bit. And I guess since we're on the topic of youth working, and which means working with people, presence is something very, very important. I mean, if you're working with people who are looking at you as some kind of role model or leader, they will notice if you are bored or want to be somewhere else. So the ability to be really present and actually like what you're doing, or at least seeing the good things that you're doing, is a skill that you can remind yourself of, focus on, and train. What more? Yeah, this process of working with people, and in this case, people younger than myself, it's a long, hard journey. Because you're never finished, so to speak. You always daily should remind yourself. And you have certain, as you get older, I don't know if it's true, I think it's true, that you cannot teach an old dog to sit. And there's certain habits I fall back into that I have to keep an eye on. Good habits, of course, but also bad habits that I have to remind myself off.
Now, if you could send a message to a younger self, what would you say to help them prevent burnout?
What would you want to tell your younger self? Yeah, it would be amazing to go there and give a few advice. But as we all know, that person will not listen. I don't believe in that. It's impossible, we already know that. But even if it was possible, I don't think I would bother go back and tell myself. Because you are in a different phase of your life when you're 17 or 22. You are sometimes more optimistic, positive. You think everything is possible. And you're trying to choose everything, and you're being very enthusiastic and very greedy, and you want to do things, and you're also very confused, and you're afraid of things and stuff like that. And I guess you have to just go through all that, of being confused, of being insecure, of slowly building yourself and hopefully learn from your mistakes. And okay, I'll give an advice. The world does not evolve or revolve around you. You are not the center of the universe. The less time we spend being narcissistic, the better. And I mean, most of us, we have a narcissistic trait because we care most about number one, as they say. But you should be aware of that embarrassing thing that you did or said. Nobody remembers that. It's only you. Yeah, they were irritated at you. They might even be angry at you. They might be whispering about you. 1 day later, 1 week later, 3 minutes later, nobody cares. Because they are not, everyone is so into themselves in a way. It's natural. So don't carry your mistakes too long. If you have to apologize, apologize. Just be a bit more aware next time. Because I know as a young man, I could embarrassing things. Am I good enough? Do I fit into the group? It's tough stuff. And then you think that you burned your bridges, but no, you can do many mistakes and come back. And I guess as being older and sort of in a leading position sometimes, I should remember this and remind if I see someone having a hard time. Yeah, that's a nice thing to say. Why go back to my younger self? I can see other young people and go back to them. I can actually have access to them now. As they say, I'm being a bit spiritual in this interview here. There's an Indian saying, Tatwam Asi, means I am you. We're all the same. We're very similar, and what you have experienced, I have or will experience it. So it's no big deal. You're sitting there with your shame or whatever it is. Don't worry. I probably had the same shame once in my life. And I could maybe ease someone's burden, saying that this troubles you, but I can assure you, nobody gives a fuck in 100 years, or what they say, or at least in a week. So what I take from this question is that yes, you can meet your younger self, but maybe not yourself, but a version of you, other people, and you can maybe share. And I'm hearing how silly this is. Who under 20 is interested to hear the advice from someone over 50? So I'm just going to give up.